right, YouTube. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. As always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. All right, so tonight we're just going to talk a little bit about expectations. Now, you know, every single year you have the expectations of what you think Auburn should do. Let's just for entertainment purposes, let's just go back to the 2018-2019 season, and let's realistically talk about what we thought Auburn's expectations were. You think about 2018, you're like, well, I don't know. You know, I mean, going into the Washington game, it just depends on most of Auburn fan base's expectations are post facto in nature. And what I mean by post facto is I got to see what they do first. So when they beat a team like Washington or they beat a team like Oregon, now that we know that they can beat the potential Pac-12 champions, now the expectations are through the roof. We expect to win all the way through, all the way out, but that's kind of not a very logical way of dictating expectations as it relates to the SEC. And I'm going to tell you why. Although Auburn beats a potential Pac-12 champion or eventual Pac-12 champion in Oregon and Washington in subsequent years, you just can't utilize that particular win as a selling point as to why you think Auburn should be the SEC champions. Well, for number one, you got to look at the recruiting classes of the teams that Auburn plays against on a week in and week out basis. Oregon and USC and Washington, for the most part, they're competing against teams that, you know, probably in the upwards of 30 or 40 ranked recruiting classes. Auburn, for example, in the SEC West, Auburn could be ranked number 7 in the country as far as recruiting goes, but still probably ranked like 4th in the SEC, and that's being generous. Maybe even 2nd or 3rd in the SEC West, third behind Alabama and LSU. And probably you throw them back down about 4th or 5th when you factor in the sub-conference in the East, where Georgia and Florida are probably now recruiting a little bit better than Auburn at this point. So at that point, you have to start to reel in your expectations. And you also have to be realistic about your expectations. Let's just think about last year, 2019. Prior to the Oregon game, if Auburn loses to Oregon, this is just human nature though. Auburn loses to Oregon, where are your expectations now at this point? Right? I did not see Auburn as an SEC contender per se after the Oregon game. I thought both teams played pretty sloppy, and that's what you normally do in a high consequence game, in a high anxiety type game. Play sloppy. I don't think that game was any indication of what the two teams would wind up being, right? So I started to get a little bit more judgmental about Auburn around that Texas A&M game. And I was still a little iffy because of the way Auburn beat Texas A&M, kind of holding on after kind of jumping up. That just wasn't a straight up, manhandling of Texas A&M. But I still thought at that point Auburn was a legit number 10 in the country. But Auburn fans, on the other hand, you beat a big-time team, especially early in the season, now the expectation goes through the roof. It's never a proactive type of expectation. You ask an Auburn fan right now, what are the expectations for this coming season? They don't know. They don't know. They hope, but they don't know. Auburn fans do not know what the expectations will be until the season unfolds. Alabama, they know the expectations. SEC championship appearance is like an expectation, right? But Auburn, we got to check them out. I think about back in 2004 when Auburn went undefeated. You know, you really couldn't have told me that particular team would have gone undefeated at the beginning of the season. A couple of games went by. The signature win for me was that win against LSU after Hurricane Ivan. Very nice win for Auburn. I want to say that, you know, that was a couple of years removed from me graduating from Auburn. I really liked Auburn at that point, but that 2004 season, especially being an Auburn alumnus, kind of did it for me. Those guys really played with a high level of tenacity and probably deserved a shot at USC. I'm not going to say that Auburn would have won against USC because I just don't think so. USC was a very talented football team, in which I think Auburn might not have won that one, but at the same time, would have been nice to have seen that particular game being played, especially considering that Auburn had played USC the year prior and lost 23-0, but competed pretty well. But what I want to bring to the forefront is the fact that Auburn, when it comes to expectations, it's not until you get that signature win, then the expectations come. Then if it doesn't turn out to be the SEC appearance or the national championship appearance, then the Gus Malzahn blame, or whoever the coach is to blame, comes to that point to where I think about last season. Given all factors involved, a 9-4 season was actually kind of, sort of all right. Yeah, they should have won a few more, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. In the SEC, there's not but so many wins that will go around. What do you guys think about this video and the quote-unquote expectation clause in college football, especially for teams like Auburn, who are dead in the center of the SEC West and have to play LSU, Georgia, and Alabama every year? Who knows? Like the video, guys. My name is Kennard Vernon Stewart. I am your host for Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.